But I want to call out Brian Moore, because Brian Moore needs to be fired from the BBC from his humongously inappropriate comment. Hello, and after a week off, we're back. And in the week that England regain the Six Nations and the Red Roses take the Grand Slam and the double, it's ridiculous. Richie hammers the whimpering Wallabies. Pivac, has he got potential? Or is he just a problem? And after Brian Moore's horrific, inappropriate comment during the France-Ireland game, are some commentary teams outdated? And I would like to discuss our favourite commentators at the moment and provide a best three commentators. But that's all to come on this episode 21 of the Rock and Ball podcast. Lads, we were just saying off air, Harry Berryman was going to dust off his football boots because obviously rugby was canned. Now we're going into lockdown. How are you feeling? Are we all right?
Yeah. Yes, no, somewhere in between.
Harry's still getting over the fact that he can't play any rugby, and he was going to try and play some football, but now that's not going to happen either. So we're all just going to carry on with the podcast like this still. I think it's a shame because we eventually managed to do one. We're all in the same place. So let's crack it on. England are champions again after their win over Italy, and France is unsurprisingly beating Ireland, which we'll talk about in a moment. I don't really know how to feel about England, really. Like, I think this Six Nations as a whole has been very weird because obviously we started way back at the start before even coronavirus was a thing. We're now back. England are champions. Everything, it's all a bit flat. The game itself, Italy came with a lot of aggression. They were very pumped up. They wanted to try and do something. Was it a wasted opportunity for England to blood some better players? Or not better players, but like, I was kind of sat there going, Ollie Lawrence gets chucked on with 10 minutes to go. Thorley gets 14 minutes for Watson. Tom Dunn gets 2 minutes at the end. Like, that was a really nice touching thing from him on Instagram with his parents. I thought that was really nice. But is it a wasted opportunity?
I don't think so. I think you'd be entirely entitled to disagree because Italy, while not quite as bad as Georgia and Fiji will be, they are not great. So we certainly could have played a weaker team and probably still won this. But on a sort of zoomed out level, this was the Six Nations. We had to win this. We had to get the bonus point. We had to get a good points difference. And that's Six Nations 2020. For the rest of history, England won it. This Nations Championship thing, not sure many people will go back and look at it. Really, I mean, it's an interesting thing. It's fun for us to have right now, but in terms of the records, Jones's legacy, these players' legacies, get that one dealt with, and then we can rotate more and play some weirder teams in this.
Did we like how England were trying to? Did you like how England approached the game? Did you like watching them?
I don't think they cared whether we like watching it or not. It works playing like that. It works really well, especially against a team like Italy that can't really keep hold of the ball themselves. So it doesn't really matter how much you kick it away because you're definitely going to win it back. And they're also not that good in the air, so we won quite a lot of the contested kicks as well. But yeah, it's not the All Blacks.
Didn't help.
It's not watching France. It's not watching the All Blacks. Is it? Like, you've got to think about it like that in the sense that England have we came second at the World Cup. We've just won the Six Nations. Whoop-de-doo, great, very happy about that, obviously. But I'm sort of sitting there going, France should have won that Six Nations because they were in my opinion, the better team throughout, and they just got unstuck by Scotland. But I just felt we kicked the ball away far too much in a game where you've stuck George Furbank in, which was a complete, that's a reverse. I'd forgotten about George Furbank. Perfect opportunity for Furbank to go, right, I'm going to show my running game. I'm going to run everything back. Italy defended really narrow. There were so many times in that game where they were about there was about 3 or 4 over for England, and they didn't go wide. And I was just like, just build the phases. I just think England, they like the kick over the top. They like playing that territorial game. That works. That's going to win you games. I get that. But when you've got a chance to play against Italy, you've got Anthony Watson, you've got Johnny May on the wing, you've got George Furbank, who that 15 shirts complete up for grabs. You just think, can they run? Can they carry a bit more? I don't know.
But why? Yeah. Why not play like this? Because you won't lose to Italy playing like that with this England team. So why do anything different from their perspective?
That's true. Fine.
Yeah, I agree.
I completely agree. It's not quite boring, but it's not fun. It's not watching Bristol or Fiji,
New Zealand or Fiji or France.
Or any of these Toulouse, any of these modern play it from anywhere. 1 to 23 can pass off both hands and offload, and will do it every time they get the ball. With England, Eddie Jones's England don't really play like that, which is fine. And I think we'll lose fewer games playing this way than we would playing the other way. I think you'd rather the team were conditioned to play this low risk but gets it done style. I think we'd rather that than chuck it around, have a bit of fun, beat Italy in the Six Nations by 50 points to 10, but lose to the All Blacks. This is that's not quite the equation, but it's South Africa don't chuck the ball around quite like that.
No,
and I guess and actually, making wholesale changes, you could put Ollie Lawrence and you could put loads of different people in, but by the time you actually get to a game when you come up against Wales, the next Six Nations, you're going to be like, oh, we'll go back to what we know. Unless you're going to actually, I reckon, slowly bleed players in rather than make wholesale changes. And to be honest, if Daly's fit and Watson's potentially there, Furbank doesn't really get near the squad. It was nice to see what's his name in the row, Johnny Hill.
Ooh, yeah.
But he's great. Maybe if Lords and Launchbury are fit, he might not get near the squad. It's great to bleed all these players, but unless they're actually realistic long-term prospects, that's why I think the rest, like Harry said, get this game out of the way, win it, and now you can test some players. I hope Ben Young isn't playing in the next 4 games. That's all I say.
But he is, though. He is, because Eddie Jones just said he can get to 150 caps, so he's going to play him. He's going to keep playing him.
He had quite a good game, didn't he?
He did have a very good game. And he's had a great career. Can't knock him, but it'd be nice to see some change.
But he's not Aaron Smith, though, is he? He's not Aaron Smith, or he's not Faf. He's not Anton Dupont, is he? That's every really, really good international team now has the X Factor 9. I'm not saying I don't think particularly we have an X Factor 9. I just think we're hampering on a guy who's coming to his prime of his career. He does have those off games. It's amazing he's had the 100 caps. I'm not taking everything away from him, and fair play to him. He's been the best of a position that we never really had an X Factor player in, to be honest. So, but there's a lot of people that are scratching their head about, well, Ben Spencer's in there, and you could definitely argue that case. But there was a lot of people that I spoke to, partial fans, who were like, why isn't Jack Willis playing? Why isn't Sam Simmons at 8? That's a travesty. But Sam Simmons isn't as good as Billy Vunipola.
He's just a different player.
Is he?
Yeah. It's as different as picking. Not quite as different, but it's as different as picking 12 trees or Tuolangi at 13. Yeah, they were the same number.
Kyle Eastman or
fine.
Or Eastman or Henry Slade. They were the same number, but they just don't do the same thing in any phase of the game whatsoever. And that's just how Eddie Jones wants to set England up. Tom Curry is Sam Simmons opposition and sort of competition, and Ben Earl is the one behind Tom Curry. So Simmons is somewhere down that list.
But Tom Curry was class again. That try was absolutely fantastic. Like Italy as a whole are sort of a side that like they've got some big blokes. They've got some skill there, but they don't have that consistency at an international level for a basic skill set of. They've got to get in the line. They've got to think like a rugby player, and they sometimes it just takes one person to switch off, and that's what happened. And Tom Curry's looked up and scored good try, but again makes some dominant hits. There's I think in the first half, I can't remember who they hit, but Sam Underhill and Tom Curry hit the guy. One goes high, one goes low, drives him back. Italy were building momentum. They then killed it, whatever. And then is it Gabier? Who's the new fly half they've got that's come out of nowhere? Who actually looks quite good. Anyway,
he's played, I think, 2 games of professional rugby before this.
He looks quite good though. He looks quite good.
He's going to be good, and he's going to have a long career probably playing for Italy, given that their playing pool isn't great. So when they find somebody competent, they'll stick with them. But
where's he come from?
I think he is.
Is he the zebra fly off?
I can't remember which one. But
he's not the Benetton, because that's Carlo Canna's the Benetton fly.
Yeah, he's been an age group player for them so far. Played a couple of pro games, but he's really young. He's 19 or 20.
Okay.
He scored that try he scored Ireland the week before in the was a lovely try. I think Italy have managed to fight. The good thing for Italy is they found the replacement for Parise and Jake Pelledri. I mean, Jesus Christ. He was, again, phenomenal. Some unbelievable carries. That try is very nice.
Try was really good.
Was he? He was starting for Gloucester, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, the Gloucester back row is something that's fluid, and we've got loads of depth in, so they kind of just rotate a lot. But yeah, Pelledri is always in our starting back row. Sometimes it's 7 or 6, really. I'm not sure which is his best position, but he does the job for Italy.
It does seem strange for Gloucester to not make him the focus. Obviously, you've got a lot of alternatives, but there are very few players in international rugby who affect games as much as he does. As much as he does at the moment. So.
No, I do often find it weird when he's not in the squad, but they seem to rotate more than they perhaps should. I don't think they'll do that in future. I think everyone realises that he is the man now, and I do think they'll probably continue with him at 8. We've had Ben Morgan at 8 for quite a long time, but I think his career is sort of waning, whereas Pelledri's is really kicking off. So I think that's probably what they'll do for him. I hope that's what they do going forward, but we'll see.
Probably the last thing from England, unless anyone wants to pick anything up on it. Very quickly, Johnny Hill, good game, apart from that yellow card, red, penalty?
A penalty. Like, unbelievable.
It's a poor call, isn't it? It's a poor call.
No, I completely agree with all of the rules and all of the
penalty
objectives to get rid of the high tackles, etc. But Hill was coming low. He can't predict whether the guy's going to be effectively tackled or not. He was coming at below chest height, and then he suddenly slides down at the very last minute. And the justification they gave was that it was with power and made contact with the head. So that means there's one, and you can only apply one level of mitigation that takes it from the red to the yellow, because with force to the head is a red by default. But by the time he made contact with the guy's head, there was barely any force, because he was just sliding up his back. It wasn't.
And that's what blew my mind. I was like, he was like, the fact that it was like it's direct contact to the head. I was like, well, no, we've just seen 2 angles where it's clearly showed that it's hit him in the back and it's rolled up and hit him in the head.
Very, very weird.
But they need to.
It happened.
They need to look at the full motion of the incident and like look at that actually. Like, it's not just like show the bit where he hits his head and then stop it. Like you can see that in the motion, he's not going and it's not going to hit the head directly.
And it's
And
not
also,
doing anything whatsoever.
and I say this with a lot, they need to watch it in real time and actually realise that, like, if you actually watched it in real time, it was such a split second that the guy suddenly moved and he happened to hit his head. That actually, yes, it's the responsibility of the tackler, etc., but also there just needs to be a bit of understanding about what is possible. And they are trying to avoid as much kind of head contact, etc., as possible. But you're not going to avoid everything, and there just needs to be, I don't know, a bit more of a common sense approach, I feel.
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I think they might want to look back at that and go, slightly wrong. But overall, I thought Johnny Hill actually had a very good game. He's a big boy. I mean, when he stands next to Johnny Gray, you don't really realise how big he is and how much he's filled out. But flipping Nora, he was huge. Yeah. So I think, does he do much more than Courtney Laws or Laundry does? Don't know, but fine.
Laws is retired, isn't he, from international?
Yeah, Laws is too old now, really.
Yeah. Well, as I say, he'll fight between Launchbury and Yules and for that shirt, and he's definitely in the frame. So good job from him for having a very good year. The mighty French next, France-Ireland. How good are France at the moment? I love watching France, especially when they demolished Wales the week before as well. That was very satisfying. And then they demolished Ireland again. Well, not demolished, but that's the wrong word. They've comfortably beaten Ireland with some just some good France flair of big carries up the middle, suck everyone in, fire the ball wide, give it to Fico, give it to Vakatawa. Oh, Gail Ficou's back. Flipping neck. Because he came on the scene, Toulouse played him at 12. Didn't really do a lot for about 2 seasons. Now he's 5 back on the wing, 13. He is, what a player. I love France.
Yeah, they're very exciting to watch, aren't they? Very fun.
There was a fantastic quote from Ntamak after the game talking about how they could see that the Ireland players were terrified of playing against Dupont and Tamak, Ficou and Vakatawa. Just like any team in the world would be worried about playing those 4, and quite rightly, they're really good. And I think none of them are particularly old. I think Ficou is a bit older than you'd like to be a sort of starting back 4 years out from, sort of 3.5 years out from World Cup.
No, he's 26.
Is he really? I'm 26.
94, 26 of March 94.
Well, okay. Well, he's been around for a very long time then.
He came on, I think he broke on scene when he was 19 or something, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, in that case, none of that backline are very old.
How old's Boutelet at the back, though?
I
thought Boutelet was relatively old.
Bit older, but
he was in the... Yeah, anyway, he's up there. Ratez, how old's Ratez? Because he's another one who was superb. 92. Ratez is 28. But
yeah, so
make the next one.
Perfectly within its peak age for the next World Cup. They've still got half an under-20s team, a World Cup winning under-20s team that haven't made their debuts yet. They've got another, obviously Makalu and who's the other one? The one who plays for Bordeaux, the 6, Woki, who aren't in this squad and will fit in quite nicely with the way they play right now.
Someone gets Cameron Woki in that back line. Oh, that back row.
I think he's just been injured or had COVID or something. I think he would have been in the squad. He was withdrawn late.
Cross has played well though. I think that France back row is flipping hard to get into.
Cross, I'm just saying, have options.
On another back row from the Irish team, Kellen Doris has scored an own goal in that game. His deliberate tackle off the ball.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Was that Cross who was going to go over? Cross or LaRue that was going in? I can't remember which one. But anyway, silly. Very, very silly.
It's the kind of thing you get away with most of the time.
Yeah.
but not when you've got Wayne Barnes refereeing, who didn't even need to take a second look. That's why he's the best ref in the world. He was like, nope, don't need to look at this again. Clear and obvious. Thank you very much. Move on.
Yeah.
Well, Ireland.
What's the views on Stockdale at fullback there?
No, don't like it.
Oh, sorry.
Not really working.
Doesn't work.
Nope. That's what I thought.
Like, that's fine. He's a really good winger. They'll try somebody else there. It's not like he is in some way a terrible player, which you see quite a lot of. Stockdale should never play for Ireland again. No. He's really good.
It's not a fullback. Yeah.
Because they've got this guy is it Keane? Is it Keane that's played the last 2 weeks on the wing?
Keenan, the left winger. Yeah, and he's been good.
Him, but look,
he's again young. Had a good.
And they have Andrew Conway on the other wing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is that they've that Carberry's been injured. You'd ideally have him at 15, I think, or Lama.
Yeah, Lama's injured. That's the main reason, probably.
And they have quite a good player base, but not that good. They haven't picked Will Addison yet. They have some options, which I hope they'll try.
Matt Gallagher's obviously in Munster now as well, the ex-Saracens player. He's qualified for Ireland, so potentially is another option. Ireland, though. Thank you, Andy. First of all, I slagged you off on the previous podcast, but thank you, Andy, for getting your defensive decisions all wrong. So England could win. So thank you very much. Much appreciated. Why on earth was Jameson Gibson Park defending in the line for that second try? Was that not the second? The kick over the top from Intermac. That's just poor defence. They've got to have someone in there. And when you've got someone like Jacob Stockdale, who's not a 15 defending, technically he's in the right position, but then he's got to do cover work there. That's poor. You can't get away with that. But someone who would have definitely been in that position, because he would have probably ignored that directive, was John Cooney. I can't believe John Cooney was nowhere near that Ireland squad. Because he's their bit of X factor. He's a bit something different, and I think that's what Ireland are lacking a bit at the moment. Sexton's a bit over the hill, who was their previous X factor. Aki's fine in the centre. Robbie Henshaw's try out of nowhere was nice. I think I rate him very highly. CJ Sanders had a good tournament, but they're lacking a little bit of star power. Am I wrong in that?
I think it's hard to say what defines Ireland at the moment, apart from that Johnny Sexton's their key man and has been for the past 4 years. Like, there's nothing really kind of, I don't know, compared to when they had the O'Driscoll, Gordon, I don't know. I don't really look at Ireland and think, oh, they're going to be a massive threat come next World Cup, because you can't, I don't know, there's nothing that's lighting up where England are big and powerful and that's their game and everyone knows that they play that way, where I don't know what defines Ireland at the moment. Not that every team needs that, but
I think they're also probably struggling because they are quite old. That even their sort of young, talented, up and coming players like Stockdale and Lama are 24. They haven't got a couple of 20, 21, 22-year-olds who are, okay, they've really got 2 World Cup cycles of being fantastic. So they're young. I mean, Doris is probably their standout in that category. But then the players who are actually most important for the team, so Stander, Healy at the moment is playing amazingly. Obviously, Murray, Sexton, Aki are all either late 20s or deep into their 30s. And the next World Cup, they will not be at the peak of their form. I mean, Peter Omani is still a really important player for them, and he hasn't got a lot left in terms of playing 80 minutes in international rugby. So it's going to be a weird period for them while they phase people out and phase people in. But yeah, I think that you're right, the sort of identity thing. What are they? What's the plan? It's difficult to work out.
Well, some team that's found its identity and has a exceptionally good coach behind them is Scotland. Scotland are very good in parts on Saturday. I thought a couple of mistakes, classic. Just again, not having that All Black, I would say, benchmark of skill sets that you need for that offloading game they're looking to play when they go around the corner and then whip it wide. But Gregor Townsend, it's massive credit to him, who managed, if Scotland have managed to finish third in the Six Nations, finishing off with a centre partnership of James Lang, with all due respect to James Lang, who doesn't start for Quins, and Chris Harris, who doesn't really always start for Gloucester. Like, that is an amazing, amazing achievement. Scott Steele, who obviously is at Irish for a few years, third choice scrum half at Quins, like, comes off the bench for them. Obviously, Scotland refusing to pick the best 9 for Scotland they have available in Finlay Christie, but but Scotland are actually, they're on the right way for, I think, for the first time in a while, where they've obviously got Rory Sutherland. I think they've actually got a decent front row. Xander Ferguson can hold his own. They've got a good line out with Johnny Gray. Jamie Ritchie's put in another really good performance. I was very, very pleased with this. Not a fully fit Scotland, because you've got Scott Johnson. Who else is at 13? Hugh Jones. You've also, obviously, they've lost Finn Russell and Adam Hastings. Hopefully, they're not going to be bad injuries, because that really means that Dunky Weir gets a call up. But again, Duncan Weir's on relatively good form for Worcester, so that's not a massive shoot.
He's in camp, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because I saw a quite funny picture they put on Instagram of stepping Stuart Hogg, and he's like, "You can win as many trophies as you like. I'm still going to beat you," or something like that.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
So he probably wears that shirt next time if those two are out, which would be a shame.
Anyone want to pop in on Scotland before I raise my point about Wales?
Yeah, no, I think we sort of talked about this kind of thing for some of the Premiership teams, but some of these teams where they don't expect to win every game, it's good to have an obvious process, an obvious progress. Scotland have that at the moment, and yeah, they've done well. I think they've conceded something like the fewest points of any Six Nations team over the course of the tournament since about 2015.
Amazing achievement.
I mean, obviously it helps that they've played almost all of their games in horrendous weather, but you still have to be competent and actually execute the defence in that horrendous weather. So yeah, fair play to them.
After Scotland. Let's talk Wales. Wayne Pivac's been in the news recently. Obviously, he's not everyone's favourite person in Wales at the moment. Wales, obviously, they won the title last year, and then he's finished 5th. And the Ospreys head coach has come out today and said that him and his assistant coach won't last the year. I feel a bit sorry for Pivac, because he's a very good coach. You can see what he did at Scarlets, and Scarlets probably played the best brand of rugby in the Pro 14 for the last 3 years before they had him. Played a beautiful Super Rugby style offloading game. But my sort of point that I really wanted to make was Pivac's trying to play a bit like New Zealand in the sense of skill set, offload, get people on the your feet at the break in defence, which is great. But then they don't have that natural part. When they don't have Tipperick, they don't have someone to go and get the ball. And I think that's what Wales are struggling with at the moment, is they don't have. He's trying to play a game, but he's not got the quality of players to play that game. And on the flip side, when you've got Gatland, who's at the Chiefs, where maybe Gatland was trying to play a Northern Hemisphere style of rugby at the Chiefs, it didn't help them. Well, actually, the Chiefs needed to play this offload, everything offloading, like Super Rugby do. So I think Pivac just needs a bit of time. I think he's been thrown at the deep end of the Six Nations. The Autumn Nations Cup gives them an opportunity to really hone in on some stuff. I just feel a bit sorry for him, because personally, I don't think Wales have got the quality to play the game plan that he wants to do. Because there was plenty of times in that game where they were defendingly absolutely fantastically well, organised, but they lacked that poacher. They lacked having Tipperick in there, or Warburton. I talked about Lewis in the week about how he was being well at Cardiff Blues, a 21-year-old lad. But again, he comes in at the wrong angles a few times. He's off his feet. Didn't get necessarily penalties away, but I mean, Faletau's still very good, but they just lack a bit of
I think they have the same problem that Ireland have, in that they've been playing with such same squad under Gatlin for so many years. They need to rotate. If you looked, Bigger's 31, Davis is 30. What's his name? The centre, Jonathan Davis, is 32. Lee Halfpenny's 31. I mean, Liam Williams is 29. Like, and they were all playing, and most of them are over 30. And then Tipperick's 32. Falatau's nearly 30. Like, a lot of that's, and Alan Wynne-Jones, I don't know, is he 50, 60 yet?
I think Alan Wynne-Jones is about 35, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 35, but like they're still playing with the same squad. That like that core back of that back line was the same core that were playing 5 years ago. And again, it's about kind of he's come into a team that's had the same coach. I don't know how long Gatlin was there, a decade.
Yeah.
Like, and you've got to undo what was embedded if he wants to play in a different way. And by doing that, you also need to play different players and maybe mix, which he's kind of doing a bit, which he's certainly he's mixing up a bit, but there is a core there that have been playing together for years. And to try and tell them, no, you've got to play in a different way in a Wales shirt is a tough ask.
But I do think it just like, who else would you play?
Yeah.
Like, who
again,
else
Bigger's the best. Tipperick's the best in his position. Yeah. Jonathan Davis is still great. Yeah, it's a tough one, but
there was a couple of things he could have done differently. I think if you've got Nick Tompkins sat on the bench who can play 12, Owen Watkins not a 12. Owen Watkins a winger that they've just shoved in at 12. Like, admittedly, they'll come up against better centre combinations than James Lang and Chris Harris, which I've made a point of. But you've got Nick Tompkins sat on the bench. We know what Nick Tompkins do. He can play the game you want to play, which is he can run hard and he can offload. That's the game you want to play. Play him. Who's the person who puts the best team in the Northern Hemisphere at offloading the ball? Callum Sheedy. And they've got Reece Patch on the bench, who's basically a ginger version of Reece Priestland. Like,
that a compliment?
No, that's not a compliment because Reece Priestland's terrible. But
no, he's top goal scorer in the Premiership this season.
Goal scorer,
top point scorer, full stop.
Point scorer, yeah.
No, but there was a couple of things in there that his hands are tied with a few positions. I understand that, but I feel like he could have picked Tompkins could have started. Callum Sheedy could have been in the 23.
They're very unlucky with some injuries in the back row in particular at the moment. They look a very different team without Shane Lewis-Hughes and James Davies at 6 and 7. They're two. Obviously, Lewis-Hughes is a very promising. They're very excited about him, either at 6 or in the second row. But he's young and, again, has really only played a few games of professional rugby. Full stop. James Davies is a nice, fun character. Obviously, very good. Has a skill set, but he's not Tipperick. He's okay, but he's not going to be very competitive in an international game, and certainly not a game like this, because remember, he's a sevens player as much as he is a 15s player, and a day like today in the mud and the rain, well, not today, but yesterday, whatever day it was, is not his game. He's replacing Tipperick in the attacking flair sense, and not really a lot else. But yeah, they'll get there. I like Rhys Carré. I think it's they're giving him minutes, and I'm actually quite glad that he's gone back to. He's one of those was at Saracens and has left back to Wales. I think either on loan or permanently this season, because he's one who would be wasted doing a year in the Championship, or even not a year in the Championship, if that season's not going to go ahead, because he's right. He's one of those really prime, has to be getting some minutes, has to be doing scrums again, sort of live, full contact, full bore scrums against good experienced players, because he has got a lot of talent. So it's good that he's getting time for Wales as well. But yeah, they're not looking great.
No, you kind of think. I mean, Italy are in their own world of they're always just like this. Wales and Ireland are probably at a transition. Scotland are getting there. France are pretty much there. England are just the machine is just going on and on. The Eddie Jones machine is just going on, and we'll make some changes in there. So you've got 3 teams that are pretty much there. Well, 2 that are there. Scotland are on the way up, and you've got Ireland and Wales that are in a weird flux of where we're going, and then you've got Italy being Italy. But this Nations Cup, I'm looking forward to the Nations Cup. Hopefully, Frege have got some good news that Mr. Semi Randrandra is fit again, which will be great because he was out with a leg injury. So that's good to have them back. But they've had 3 positive cases of COVID, and they're actually based in. I think they were based in Limoges. I think they're based in Limoges, which is quite exciting.
It's lovely.
Apart from where my father-in-law's got a house, which is quite nice. But yeah, put that on the map. While we were just on Six Nations, I got very annoyed at it during the Wales-Scotland game of listening to the same old commentary over and over again. I feel like they mentioned the rain about 500 times and how the swirling conditions. I was like, you're an international rugby player, they can watch the ball. Like, we watched the North East South game, which was in Wellington in a hurricane. They didn't drop the ball. We watched New Zealand, Australia in the pouring rain in Wellington. They didn't drop the ball. Like, I felt that was just on and on and on, just repeating the same stuff over and over again. But I want to call out Brian Moore, because Brian Moore needs to be fired from the BBC from his humongously inappropriate comment. I don't know if anyone picked this up.
I hear this.
So poor old Cian Healy's been sick on the pitch, and Eddie Butler asked, "Oh, what drink's wrong with him?" And then Bradley Blymore goes, "Oh, blame you." I was like, that's the most inappropriate thing you can say. And to be fair, Eddie Butler just sort of just walked past it and didn't really draw much attention or hang it there. But you can't say something like that in the middle of a game where you've got millions of people watching. Like, it's a humongous issue. And he can't just throw away comment like that and not get away with it. I'm surprised there's not been anything else that's come about it, but that really aggravated me. So, but on a more positive note, if anyone wants to jump in before that we do this, but I wanted just to let you know, what is your favorite commentary lineup? So who would be your anchor? And then you have 3 other people to discuss. Who would that be?
I mean, by and large, I really dislike commentary almost on all sports.
Who's that?
Just because they often just say things that I'm thinking. It's not providing much value to me. I do just really like the ones that have for Super Rugby sometimes. Some of those Australian, New Zealand ones where it's one Kiwi and one Australian, and there's a bit of banter between them. They can each provide a bit of colour for their respective countries or teams, players. But I can't remember their names, unfortunately.
I'm just trying to do a Google now. Carlton Arna's one. I'd have Carlton Arna in, the dreadlock sevens player. He is phenomenal. He's brilliant.
A really good rapport with a lot of the players. I think he knows them quite well, which provides a lot of value for the Super Rugby broadcast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
What's the name of that classic Scottish commentator? You know, I'm sure you know. I mean, is it always does the Six Nations games? It's a really deep, booming voice. Forget his name.
Wow.
Andrew Cotter.
Maybe.
Andrew Cotter is good.
Yeah,
actually.
Um,
If it's Northern Hemisphere, Andrew Cotter's probably the best.
Yeah. I don't mind if you want some like very serious analysis and it's like something. Wilco's not too bad, or having Bod there isn't too bad, but don't have Wilco and Woodward in the same room.
Oh God!
Watch paint dry.
That
But I pointed something out the other. I can't remember. It must have been back when the actual Six Nations. And it was about if you looked at the team that was doing England, can't remember who, Ireland game, and I think there was Eddie Butler doing and Brian Moore doing commentary, and then there was Keith Wood, Gus Scott, and Jonathan Davis. And it's the same bloody three people like 12 years ago. It's like no one knew. Same people. BBC haven't changed it up in years. I mean, I know we're talking about three, but it's time for them to like mix it a little bit. And it's in the same old format, and I don't know.
The game is very different now to when they all played, isn't it, as well? A lot has changed. And so you do find that sometimes they hark back to when they used to play, and they can't really make comparisons like players that play the game in the last few years can. Even Wilkinson's probably a little bit on the edge of that, but he still has really good insight because he's just a complete rugby nose. Yeah. But you do find that some of the players that have played the last couple of years, they tend to have much better insight because they just understand what's going on more.
Yeah. I've got mine. I've got my full lineup. I'd have Christy Stanway, who is the anchor for Super Rugby Aotearoa. She was fantastic because she actually gives insights and actually, from an anchor's point of view, actually offers an opinion, which is really good. I'd have David Flatman on commentary because I think he knows about the game and he's got a bit of banter, and I like that. I'd have Emily Scarrett in there as well when she's not playing because, again, as the best female rugby player on the planet and also probably one of the best commentators, her insight, I think she did the Wasps game, one of the Wasps games over the lockdown period. She was phenomenal on that. And Carter Narker, as I've just said, he'd be fantastic because he's just got so much passion and he's a Kiwi. Why not?
Tell you who I did listen to not too long ago was Corbisiero.
Oh, he's good, isn't he?
In America, doing and obviously it's very American, kind of everything's larger than life, and it has to be. But he's quite entertaining.
Yeah, no, he's a very good person to be an advocate and an ambassador for rugby over in the US. I think he knows what the American market need. Yeah, it's fantastic. I wish him well in his recovery from with his treatment. Last little wrap up bit before we wrap up everything around the world. New Zealand, Australia, Bledisloe 3. Chance of the Wallabies in a absolutely cracking kit. I have to say, first, but only positive the weekend for Australia. That kit was beautiful. But instead, they got smashed by the Wallabies. They got smashed by the Kiwis. I only watched the highlights, so unfortunately I was driving back. But from the highlights, Richie Mo'unga looks like the best fly half in the world. And he silenced all the things that they need to put Bowden at 10. Oh, that try was lovely. Well, both his tries were superb. Geordie's try looks like Australia's defence was an under-15s but bottom basement C team defence. Like, that was embarrassing. Anyone want to chime on this beautiful demolishment of the Wallabies?
I think it was over by 30 minutes. That's all I can say in that game. I watched first half and was semi-watching the second half, but Richie could have quite easily scored a hat trick. He just missed out on the hat trick in that first half. Someone just ankle tapped him, but yeah, and they had what's his name playing at 10 for Australia, which was always going to be a tough ask against Richie. But New Zealand looked good, and yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for Australia to go from having this crop of young talented players to those same players being experienced internationals. At some point in their rugby life, they're going to have to play their first game against the All Blacks. That's just going to happen at some point. So you might as well do it all at once, because now Lelesio's played against the All Blacks. Patai's obviously played a few games now. Dalgunu's had his moments, had his good game, had his less good games. Phillip, Wilson, Uelese as well. I'm not sure how many minutes he got, but he's reasonably talented, good with the ball in hand. McRae, McDermott and Paisami, that's nearly 10 players making what is effectively their debut. They had I think it had 13 players with under 5 caps in the whole squad. I think I wouldn't worry about it too much. Australia get beaten by New Zealand 43 points to 5 more or less every year these days.
Yeah.
So this isn't that much worse than that really experienced team 2 years ago did. Except this team has a long time to improve. Even some of the most senior players like Salakai Aloto, Tupu, they're pretty young. They'll still be there and be in their peaks for the next World Cup. Don't need to worry for Australia. This is going to happen.
No, and I think I take my head off to Dave Rennie, to be honest, just to pull the trigger on a lot of these guys. I think they'll enjoy the Tri-Nations. I think New Zealand will win it, but Argentina, unfortunately not playing at anything, will give Australia the opportunity for the likes of Noah Loloseo to play, Tate McDermott to start, as you say, Harry Wilson to continue on. I think that will give them fantastic opportunities to blood those players. And if they get tonked by New Zealand, unfortunately get tonked by New Zealand are one of the best rugby teams in the world. They've got some ridiculously exciting young guys that they're coming through. So, yeah.
So I think Argentina have got a warm-up game. Is it this weekend or the weekend just gone?
They're playing the Waratahs, I think.
Yes. So that's with the guys from the Northern Hemisphere having completed their quarantine as well. So this team that plays the Waratahs will be their full best squad, and that is a good squad. So I think they'll be okay. But yeah, they're coming in quite cold compared to. Certainly,
I've just read they've had to postpone it.
They postponed one 2 weeks ago.
Is
that the same one?
Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Anyway,
they had one a couple of weeks ago that was postponed because, Argentina didn't have enough players because a couple of them had COVID and a couple of them were not quite fit.
Have we got any? Can someone load up while I just recap everything that's going on around the rest of the world with rugby? Can someone load up for me the fixtures for next weekend? Is there any rugby next weekend? While someone does that, Super Rugby Unlocks cracking on. I haven't watched any of it really, which is a bit of a shame. But the Bulls are top of that by 15 points over the Cheetahs. But they have played 2 more games than the Cheetahs. Over in the Mitre 10, Otago are winning the Mitre 10 championship. And over in the Premiership, Auckland have just overtaken Tasman. Considering as well, yeah, the likes of Harvilli, fullback for Tasman, Auckland winning that, which is fantastic. And then the Pro 14 started up again. 3 games of that. Leinster are obviously top of Conference A. No surprise there, with Ulster in second. Ospreys have started relatively well. It's probably one of the surprises. They've won 2 games. And then Munster, unsurprisingly, are top of Conference B. Cardiff Blues starting well. They're second. Unsurprisingly, Benetton and Zebre are both bottom of the respective conferences. Harry, fixtures for next weekend.
So Friday evening, Toulon Brive. Essentially, it's Pro 14, Top 14, and then on Saturday morning, it's Australia, New Zealand at 8:45 our time.
Oh, fantastic.
So that'll be the focus, and then we can get on with our busy, active indoor lives.
Let's have a look. While what we're saying, New Zealand, Australia, we're saying New Zealand by 50 this week.
No, I think it'll be closer. It can't be any worse than that, really. I don't think. New Zealand might play an even more experimental team to rest some people ahead of the Rugby Championship proper.
I might be. When have we? Oh, we've got Bordeaux. We could watch the Beggar. We've got nothing else to do. We might as well try and cram round
Bordeaux Bayonne on Saturday evening.
Bayonne on Saturday. That'll be on Sky, hopefully. Maybe.
Same time as Montpellier Stade.
Well, that's no one's been on that.
That's the high-profile game.
Yeah, how's the top 14 getting on? Let's have a look. It's a well-oiled production. This machine. There's a lot of dead air. Don't worry. We know what we're doing. We're professional. Right, top 14. Clermont are winning that. Oh, it's tight. Flipping heck. Clermont and La Rochelle top 23-22 respectively. Bordeaux. Oh, still 11th, lads. We're still 11th. We've only played 5 games. We've won 2, lost 3. Oh,
plenty of time.
But we'll wrap it up with the best transfer since Semi Randrandra to Bordeaux. Billy Meeks has arrived. He's at London Irish. That's the only big transfer that any of Nelly note. So let's hype it up.
Only a short-term deal, though, isn't it?
Unfortunately, it's only till January because Hepatima Ann is out until then with a wrist injury, and Matt Williams, unfortunately, has ripped his ACL. So he's out for basically all of the season, which is not nasty. So good luck with your recovery, lads. But yeah, Billy Meeks arrived. That's an exciting combination between him and Curtis Rona. Oh, Irish for top 6. Watch this space. Anything else? Any other business, lads, or should we leave it there?
Not for this week. I think we can preview the Autumn Nations Cup next week because there'll be very little else to talk about.
Yes. Sounds good.
Yeah.
And the Premiership.
Really?
Because that starts the week after.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, fantastic.
Friday the 20th.
Oh, my God.
Oh, fantastic.
You know that long break they're going to have.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be great. We'll do a really
Christmas come early.
top 5 players from each Premiership side that we already know about.
Do a live fantasy draft.
Oh, that would be good. Should we do that live?
I will investigate.
That would be good fun. I'll get some people to join so we don't have to have some random agains. Anyway, or now we've got a podcast. There we go.
Invite fans.
Bloody hell, I forgot we were on the podcast. Anyone that follows us or listens to this, if you want to get involved, Harry's going to research it, but we'll keep following us on Instagram and Twitter and all that jazz. And we'll see if we can set a league up, because that would be class.
That would be great.
That would be great. God, we're thinking on the feet. Absolutely brilliant. Right. So everyone, in summary, fantasy draft in a couple of weeks. We're going to preview the Autumn Nations Cup next week and the Premiership on this very professional rugby podcast. Until then, see you later.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Yeah.